What's up, guys? This is KSHMR, and in this lesson, I'm going to be showing you the different elements of my song, My Best Life with Mike Waters. The first element that we're going to look at is this vocal sample, which sort of serves as the basis for the whole song. There's not a ton of processing on this vocal sample. If you notice here in the verses, I chop up the sample, so you still feel like it's there, but it's not conflicting with Mike's voice. And here is where I use delay and reverb to still fill up the space, although the samples are pretty short. Now, if you guys recognize this vocal sample, that is because it comes from my sound pack, Sounds of KSHMR Volume 3. I know it's in some other songs that are out there, but just so you know, it does come from my sound pack, Indian Vocal Loop number 5. Okay, on to the next element. We have these kalimbas. These kalimbas I originally played in Omnisphere, and you can see the patch here. And then below, I printed them to audio, and this allowed me to do some effects where I'm reversing the kalimba and even adding a pitch bend, which I think made them more interesting. Here is the freeze, and here in the clip automation, you can see the pitch bend. Let's give that a listen. The next thing to look at are Mike Waters' vocals. It is mostly a lead take that we did.
With someone with my money. Someone who goes to bed at parties in a fast car.
And there are the occasional backup vocals that put emphasis on some words. And I'm pretty sure we just did 2 tracks, a left and a right. And in some cases, these do harmonies.
Someone with no worries.
In some cases, they do a low octave and a high octave.
Someone with no worries. One that doesn't show it. Keeps up a facade.
And this just adds a little bit of support. It's subtle. I wanted to keep it as organic and natural sounding as I could. Not a lot of tuning, not a lot of auto-tune.
Don't know where it's taking me, and that's fine. I'm living my best life.
Now here we have the drums. The drums are pretty simple. It's just a kick and a clap. And where you get a lot of the rhythm is actually from the guitar, which I'll show you in a second. But the drums are fairly simple. And down here you can see we have this muted verse guitar, and that is really what gives you the bounce and sort of serves as a percussion type of sound. This guitar I actually made in Contact, or rather it comes from a Contact library. This is the Strummed Acoustic 2. I'm using the Tennessee B muted patch, and then I chopped it up, as you can see below in audio. I chopped it up to get the rhythm exactly how I wanted it. And now when played together with the drums, you can really hear how it adds the sort of groove, whereas the drums are pretty simple, just a kick and a clap. The guitar really gives it the groove that you're looking for. Next, we have the bass that you're hearing on the verse. This is pretty simple, just done with a patch in Silenth. This first one has a pitch envelope that gives it the attack, and the other one is FM bass, pretty standard. Now, let's give that a listen.
There's always someone with more money.
Now, moving on, as the verse progresses, there are a few things that help us pick up momentum, and one of them are these shaker loops. Shakers are just a great way to add momentum, and here they help get us to the chorus. Additionally, we have some small fills, which are like little ear candy, to give you something unique every 2 bars or every 4 bars to guide you into the next section. Another thing that's being used to help build this section are these pads. They come in halfway through the verse. They correspond with the pre-chorus that he's singing. It used to Get Me Down section. Here we want the emotion to feel as if it's building, letting the listener know that we're heading towards the sort of peak emotional moment with the chorus. And the pads really help signify that that's coming up. Let's take a listen.
He used to get me down, but now I know what's real.
Now, in the next section, the thing that made it really work for me is the guitar that's under Mike's voice. I use the Ilya Efimov electric guitar strummer, which actually lets you program in the strumming that you want to do with upstrokes and downstrokes. Here you can see the pattern that I made. And after doing that in Contact, I printed it to audio. Then I applied some effects here. I got the CLA stuff. I got some Pro Q. And this is what really makes the magic, I think, is the combination of the guitar and Mike's voice.
I don't know where it's taking me, and that's fine. At least it's what I make it, so I don't mind.
Now, another element that's a really big contributor, I think, to the vibe in My Best Life is the brass. The brass gives it this funky sort of feel, and here in the chorus, the brass is filling up the spaces that Mike leaves in his vocal, giving you nice ear candy and keeping things interesting. I did some layering later, but mostly I use Bravura, which is a Contact library for brass, and it is excellent. I can't recommend it enough. We can take a look now at the drums that are going on under Mike's chorus as he's singing. We have these claps that come from Sounds of Kashmir, these church claps, which I love. I think they work so well on stuff. And then we go into this orchestral build. We have a snare build up and these orchestral drums that kind of serve as the body, the weight of the build up.
I'm living my best life. I don't know where it's taking me, and that's fine. At least it's what I make it, so I don't mind. Oh no, no I don't mind. Oh no.
And of course that all leads up to this fill, which I think is one of the most important parts of a drop, is actually the bar right before the drop happens that you set up the drop with, and you can make your drop feel really impactful or not at all depending on the fill that you use, I think. And of course, on the drop, the brass plays an even bigger role. The drop is pretty much just these horns and the vocal sample. You can see how I've layered some Contact with Nexus. And to fill up the low end a little bit more, we have the Spire patches that are doing the same melody. Really, this melody is the low end, it's the mids. The drop is very focused on these notes, which are the bass notes of our chords. Next thing that we can look at are the drums happening on the drop. They are basically an amplified version of the verse drums. We add some clap, some snap, and the most important development, I would say, is the Moomba rhythm. So now you have these perks on, what is it, the 4th 16th note and the 8th 16th note, giving and that adds a new rhythm and a new energy, I would say, to the drop. Now the vocal sample comes back for the drop, of course, it's a big part of it, and this time it gets a little bit of support from the saxophone sample here. To give it a little grit, I added the Butch Vig. It's a nice distortion from Waves, meant for vocals, but you could use on anything. Then we have some reverb, Valhalla Vintage, that I'm doing in parallel using an effect rack. That goes into some multi-band compression, and then into some more reverb. Don't ask me why.
Living my best life.
One of the coolest parts about this song is definitely the bridge.
Gotta get up, I'm living my life. Keep my head up, I'm living it right. Gotta get up, I'm living my life. Keep my head up, I'm living it right.
I use this vocoder to get sort of dreamy and take you away from the chorus as you've known it. And here I'm actually sending MIDI to the vocoder so that the voice now has these robotic chords going on, these robotic harmonies. And all the while this is happening, we have a whistle, sort of like a jam band building up feel. And what's especially cool is this bass pitch bend and the horns, which do a solo and really get some time to shine. This is, I don't know what you'd call it, maybe like a reggae or ska feel. And I thought that was really fun to test the waters there and incorporate that into the bridge. So that pretty much does it for the different elements that I think are interesting and worth noting in the song. We can listen over now and hear them back.
There's always someone with more money, but now I know what's real. I'm living my best life. I don't know where it's taking me, and that's fine, 'cause nobody ever makes it out alive. So I'm living my best life.
I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. This is KSHMR. I'll see you next time.